Hey, welcome to my backyard, this time on Woodworking with Wes. I have one more thing I want to build for my backyard before summer gets here. I want to build a hanging garden wall, and I want to go from this to this. Isn't it nice? Let's get out in the shop and I'll show you how to build it. Okay, now that we're out in the shop, let's get started, but let me show you what I have planned based upon the space that I have available. Of course, yours could be different. I've decided to go 90 inches tall, 60 inches wide. The space between my slats will be 5 inches and my slats will be 4 inches. We'll have support pieces in the back. They'll be made out of 2x4s. And remember, I have a light fixture that I have to work around on the side of my wall. The construction that we're going to be using is our slats are going to be made out of 5/8 Western red cedar fence pickets. Now, when I went to purchase my lumber, there were lots of different prices for lots of different things. Western red cedar is a good exterior wood, and by buying fence pickets, I was able to buy them relatively inexpensive in order to build this garden wall. I'm going to be attaching them to my uprights with just 1 1/4 deck screws, just like I have shown right here. Let's go ahead and lay this out and show you how I'm going to get started with my first few, and then we'll come back when I get a little further along. Here is our Western red cedar slat material that we're going to be using. We're going to start, this is our top piece. It's actually 5 inches wide, and here is the beginning of the cutout for our light fixture. We're going to start 5 inches down from the top. I made these little spacers so that I can be spacing my things. These are 5 inches wide, and remember, we're going to have 5 inches between each one of our slats, but we're also going to be 5 inches down from the top for our first 5-inch wide slat too. So let's just get started. I'm just going to put a couple of these on. We're 5 inches down from the top. Here's our 5-inch spacer and our 5-inch top slat. We'll make it flush with the outside edge. Make sure that our spacing is correct. And this is not so exact that you need to be real concerned about something that's not exactly on where it's supposed to be. This, after all, is a garden wall. No need to pre-drill. Your Western red cedar is soft enough that your screw just goes right in. There we are, just like that. This is our center board. On my center upright, I'm just going to put 1 screw at the top for the time being. Just like that. Because I don't have a straight edge to line it up, I want to be able to move this back and forth as I need to in order to keep my spacing correct. Then we come over here to the far side again. Here's our 5-inch spacer. We move our 5-inch spacer and set it there. We put our slat to the outside and line it up flush with the outside. Okay. There we are, and keep it flush with the outside there. Okay, there's our first slat. Our next one that we're putting on is actually where our light fixture goes. Now, we are going to have 5 inches in between, so we're going to use our 2 5-inch spacers. And we're going to start with the outside, and we're going to put our 4-inch slat here flush with this outside. There's our okay. There's our 5-inch spacer there. Let's check our measurement to keep this centered. And our measurement there would be right there. I'm actually going to put it on the top of my slat so I can line it up with my center upright. There's our spacer. And I'm just going to continue for the first few with just one screw in the top to adjust. Now over here on this side for our light fixture, I'm going to put a piece like this. This is going to create the hole for our light fixture, and there's going to be some special support pieces that will hold the ends of these so that they don't float like this. Let me go ahead and get a little further and we'll come back and take a look at my progress. Okay, we have the slat wall all put together. This is where our hanging boxes will hang. Now this is, like I say, this is the size that we're going to use for our space. You can see how I've boxed around our light fixture that we had to work around. It's ready to go too. And so now we have to build a base, because we're not going to be attaching this directly to our wall because our outside wall is a stucco wall. We're going to be building a base piece that will act as the support and to be able to hold the upright. And then we're going to build our little roof section that will be added on it also. So first off, let's build the base. Our base piece is going to be made out of 3 pieces of pressure treat lumber and 3 cross supports, one being in the center, one on each end, but we're going to be spacing our end in the width of our support pieces in order to be able to slide it in and attach it once it's up against the wall. So we're going to be spacing it in 1.5 inches with our spacer blocks, and we're going to be 1.5 inches off center on our center one so that we line up and can attach to our base. I have pre-drilled my pieces, and we're going to be using 3-inch deck screw grabbers to attach, and they're going to be attached in this configuration just like this, like I say, spaced in. It'll be flush on the front. So this is the front side. This is going to be flush. This is going to be 1.5 inches in. This will be flush right here. Same thing down here. 1.5 inches in and flush. And then we're going to also use our spacer like this for our spacer in between. There's going to be 1.5 inches between each one of our cross pieces also. So it's going to end up looking just like that. Let me go ahead and get this put together so I can show you what it looks like when we're all done. We have now completed the stand portion of our garden wall. I want to talk a little bit about it. We came up off of the floor with the length of a 2x4. We've spaced in so that we can tie into the uprights. And I want to show you these little 45-degree brackets that I put on the outside. I measured and calculated my 45-degree brackets so that I can end up with a good 90-degree from my stand to my wall when this is all screwed together. And then we'll put some weight down here to give it some stability. Now let's work on the roof portion of our wall. I have our wall portion laying on its back on my bench because I want to show you how this is going to work. Now this is the top of the wall, and this is the little roof bracket, truss if you want to give it a contractor's term. This is the little part that will be holding our roof piece. I've built it so that it fits in our space up here like this. I've given a support block that I put on there. This is going to be screwed to this. This angle here will have some boards put on. Let me show you how I came up with that angle. Let me go ahead and get the pieces and show you how that works. Well, in fact, we'll put one together. Our roof bracket here, we're going to make another one that looks just exactly like this. There's 5 pieces total. These are our 5 pieces. This is the main part that hooks into the upright. Now the upright piece is 3.5 inches. So first thing let's do is let's make a 3.5 inch mark. Give us a straight line to work on. The first piece that goes on is the support block that allows extra strength in holding our roof bracket at the 90-degree angle that we want. And we're going to give it a couple of nails there. And then we're just going to put a couple of screws in here. Like this. Now, when that goes against our upright piece, that adds extra stability so that it doesn't pull down. Once we get this all screwed into place, this is just extra support for squaring. Okay, our angle pieces, I have a line on the top of my center bracket where my angle piece will start. We're going to put it on like that. I'm going to give it some glue. All right, and the corner of our angle piece lines up with the line that I drew. Let's just give it just a few nails to hold it in place. We want the majority of this to be held tight with a screw, so let's put a screw there and one down low. So our glue, nail, and screw. All right, now we've got to work on the other side. The first thing we want to do on the other side, if you'll notice on this bracket, there's a little spacer block up front. That's to hold these parallel to each other. So let's install our little spacer block. Put some glue there. It's just going to be held in place by nails because this is the center level. And these nails are not going to be exposed to the weather. Okay, here's our other angle bracket. And just like we did on this side, we're going to line the top of our angle bracket up with our line and flush with the top of our boards all the way down, just like that. So let's give us a little pencil mark so I know where to put my glue. I always like to know exactly where my glue goes, especially if I'm in a situation where I don't want a lot of squeeze out, and I don't want any squeeze out here. This is, I'm going to put some glue down on my little bracket down here too. Okay, there we go. We put it in there. We'll line up with our lines. You can see just my line showing up there. Okay. Couple of nails to hold it in place while we get ready for our screws. Same down here on the bottom. All right, let's come back with a screw gun and screws. I'm going to give a couple more nails in our little end block just to be sure. Okay, and now we have another bracket just exactly like our other one. And these brackets will go here like that. Okay, let's turn our wall around and put our roof brackets on and get started building our roof. Before we install our roof bracket, I just wanted to let you know that I always take a little bit of, this is just a rough piece of 80 grit used sandpaper, and I'm just knocking off the sharp corners. This is Western red cedar, full of slivers because of the rough saw on the edge that it has, and I just don't want to be catching any of my slivers and keeping them. I don't like slivers. You'd think I would be used to them after all these years, but I still don't like them. Also, the glue that I used, because we're going to be out in the weather, this is Titebond III waterproof glue. Just thought I'd throw that in so that you'd know what we're using. And we're just knocking off some of the rough edges here. This is not something that we're going to be touching a lot, but we just want it cleaned up. Okay, let's get ready to put a roof bracket on. The roof bracket fits in like this, sits on top of our top board, up against our upright, and like I say, we have a little flush edge there that gives us some support. Okay, I'm going to give myself quite a bit of glue on this because this is an important stress point. It'll be holding up our wall, but you're going to see we're also going to be holding up something else. I'm going to go ahead and put a clamp on this while I put in the screws. I'm using some 1 5/8" deck screws to attach this, and we're going to put 4 of them in here on this side. I'll turn this around in just a minute so you can see. Okay, let's turn this around so you can see what I did. This is much bigger than my bench, so it's there. You can see the screws that I put there to hold that bracket. In fact, I'm going to put one more in the center. I want this to be really held on good. Glue and screw. All right, I got a little ahead of myself. I was so excited to show you how these were going on that I forgot that I can't have them on permanently because I have to take the roof section off in order to get it to the backyard. So I went ahead and I put them back on and I clamped them in place. I removed the screws that I had put in. And so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start putting on the pieces of the roof that create the top of our garden wall. The first thing we're going to do, now this is not going to be a solid roof like a shingle roof or anything. This is going to be slats that are similar to these, only closer together and smaller, that will allow some sunlight to filter through, but kind of give some shade and protection to the plants during the heat of the day. All right, the first thing we're going to do, here is one of our original slats that we had here that we didn't use, and we're going to put it across the top of our pieces and tie those together so that they're the right length. We'll do that with some nails and screws. Okay, we're getting ready to now put more slats on. This is a 1-inch spacer stick, and that's going to be the space between each one of our slats as we build our top. This board right here, because of the way it comes together, the side of this board, so this side right here, this line, is the center of our wall and our roof. I have marked a line here on the center of our top. Our top hangs over a little bit on each side. So what we want to do is we want to start with the center, and you can see how I've lined my lines up with the center. And we're going to attach this slat with a screw just like that. Okay, now if you'll come to the end of our roof, you'll notice that I hang over on each end. Our roof slats are going to be 5 inches longer than our wall, and so these are going to hang over 5 inches on each end. Now I'll go ahead and finish off the portion of my roof. I wanted to show you one more thing before we get started. This piece is a piece of 3/4. This is going to go on the end like this, and this will give us additional support and hold our ends from wobbling back and forth. And we'll go ahead and go out, and the last piece of our slat roof will go over the top of that. I'm going to go ahead and get our roof completed and show you, and then we're ready to move to the backyard and assemble. Well, here is our roof section. You can see how that's going to give a little bit of shade to our plants to kind of protect them from the heat of the day, but allow enough light through for our plants to have plenty of sunlight. Let's go to the backyard, put her together. We're gonna make some little hanging flower boxes. What we did is we went to our big box store. We just purchased some of their garden shop flowers, and we made a little holder for them. We just stapled them together, nailed them together, because as we change out flowers or decide for different flowers, we might build a different size box for the different flowers that we get. Let me show you how I came up with this though. We built some for 2 flowers and we built some for 3, and I've got a 3 laying out here in front of me. So here's our ends, like this. Here is our face, and let me put on my glasses and we'll just nail this together real quick. This is so simple, so easy, that as you get different flowers, you'll be able to just make a different little hanging box. Or they also have little hanging brackets that you can purchase from Amazon. Maybe your garden store even has some. And you'll be able to have a nice little hanging garden just like we're going to show you. Okay. Here's our back of our little box. It doesn't need to be as deep. It's open on the bottom so that as you water your flowers, the water just drains through. And like I say, this is just so simple. To nail this together, nothing to it. Okay, there's our little box itself. This will be a little hanger for the 3 baskets, and so it's 13¼ inches long with 12 inches inside. So each little pot is about 4 inches, and it's 3 inches, well actually 2 7/8 inches here, so that it catches the lip of the pot and just holds it like that. And like I say, you'll build this to fit whatever size that you get for your flowers, or whatever size bracket that you're able to purchase. Okay, the next thing we do is we have to build this little part right here that hangs over our slats on our wall. Okay, let's put that there. And I spaced it up just the thickness of our pickets material. So I'm going to lay it down like that, and our picket material like that. And I'm just going to put it just like that. I'm going to trade out my guns to my staple gun. This is a 1-inch staple that I'm now going to be using to staple this picket material together. There's this bracket on this one. Okay. The next thing we'll do is we'll nail our top piece on our next bracket. And we'll just do that by putting it right here. And again, 1-inch staples. I'm not using any screws and glue on this because of the fact that these are kind of, in my opinion, a temporary thing. As you get different size pots and plants and things, you'll adjust accordingly. These would not hold up long term with the water that goes on them and everything like that. I'm sure that if you found an exact size pot that you wanted to have for long term, you would want to use some glue and some screws in here to make it more permanent. I'm not going to worry about that because I don't think this is the size I'm going to have forever. Okay, this little spacer back here makes it so that it hangs straight on our little slats. Okay, and we'll take a piece of rough sandpaper and we'll just go around and knock off all of the sharp edges. Ta-da! It's going to look so good. Let's go put our wall together. Okay, We're just getting started. We got more flowers to come and more things to hang on our wall, and it's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful addition to anyone's home, something that you can build yourself if you follow us here on Woodworking with Wes.